Jackson, Mississippi. Today is August 6th. The time is currently 10:04 a.m. We're here at the City Hall here in Jackson. Colleagues, are there any opening remarks? Okay, very good. And today we have an introduction of an ordinance, but I will need to entertain a motion to suspend the rules to get it on the floor for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moving properly. Second, clerk, read the item. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What exactly are we voting for right now?
We're voting to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules.
Yes. Okay. So
Mr.
that's two. Are you voting in favor? To suspend the rules, yes.
Nay.
Nay? All right. What's the count, clerk? Four? Four and one. All right, thank you. Okay, clerk, let's get the item on the floor, please.
Ordinance adopting an amended district map establishing the city of Jackson, Mississippi's ward destination for
We're looking up the ordinance number to be sure. We think a motion to suspend the rules has to be adopted unanimously, so.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
It's not really to suspend the rule. It's different from suspending the rule. It's specifically in the ordinance that says.
Yeah, do you have the ordinance up?
Right.
Just a minute, we're pulling it up.
You're only suspending the rules to adopt, right?
That was my next question, is I
That's
didn't
right.
hear.
We're not suspending the rules to make this effective immediately.
It's to adopt today
To
as opposed
adopt.
to introducing and waiting 2 weeks.
That's correct.
Terry, did you catch all that?
Because normally we would have to wait 2 weeks.
Right. So specifically, as you're looking there, what the motion was to suspend the rules for purposes of both introducing and voting on the ordinance today, which would suspend the 2-week waiting period that would normally be necessary between introduction and the actual vote to approve.
Mr. Vice President.
Councilman Harley?
Yes. What are the reasons that we can suspend the rules? If this is a regular ordinance, then why do we need to suspend the rules to allow that 2 weeks period? I mean, what's allowable under the law?
You're allowed to do it. In fact, the council's done it in the last couple of months a couple of times. There have been ordinances that have been introduced, and the council has gone ahead and voted on the ordinance on the date of introduction. I know it was done with the security guard ordinance, for example, and I think on the limb cutting ordinance perhaps too, although I'd have to check the minutes to be sure. The answer is you don't have to, but you can. It is to deal with all of the business at once rather than introduce once and then wait. I don't know the reasons that it was brought up in this case, but there's no particular reason you can or cannot do it as long as the council agrees.
Yes, and thank you for
Yes,
that. And I don't know if you can record for record, but the public has continuously asked for more input and a delay in this process. And I see where we're suspending the rules to make it even quicker instead of, then I see that as just nonsensical, and it doesn't reflect the will of the people in the last public hearing.
Okay. Section 260, Terry Williamson, Office of the City Attorney. Section 2-65, Procedure for Adoption of Ordinances. All ordinances shall be introduced in printed form and must be confined to a single subject. There is no requirement that ordinances be read aloud by the clerk. However, upon the request of one or more members of the City Council, an ordinance shall be read by the city clerk before a vote is taken thereon. No vote shall be taken on an ordinance until 6 days after its introduction unless a council member specifically requests expedited consideration and no other council member objects to such expedited consideration.
Okay. So that we have to have unanimous to suspend the rules,
Correct.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what do we need to do? Just withdraw the,
Well, you still need to make sure it's been properly introduced so the
yeah, we're
wait
going
period
to
begins.
introduce it, we're not going to adjourn. Okay. So how do we dispose of the motions that are on the floor? Well, we voted, it failed, right? It failed.
The
So we
the
can just
vote
move-
to suspend the rules failed.
Right, so
Yes.
we can just go ahead and introduce the ordinance.
Correct.
Okay, Shanikia Jordan, Clerk of Council. I'm a little confused. I just read the ordinance that Terry read, but according to section 2-73, which what we have used in the past, states that we need 2/3 of all members of the council.
That's specifically for the adoption of ordinances, and so it has to be unanimous.
Okay.
There has to be no objection, and my understanding is Mr. Hartley is objecting.
That's correct.
That's fine, that's fine. All right, so we have the introduction of the ordinance. Clerk, can you get on the floor, please?
Ordinance adopting an amended district map establishing the city of Jackson's Mississippi Board destinations for the election of council members.
So moved.
So moved.
Need a
Second.
motion and
I'm
second.
sorry.
We don't need a motion and second for the introduction. You can just discuss.
Okay. There any discussion, colleagues?
I would like to say something on the record, Mr. Griselle.
Councilwoman Lee?
Thank you. After speaking with majority of my neighborhood presidents, I just want to state for the record that they wanted to make sure that the integrity of our ward stayed pretty much close to the way it was before we went to redraw the lines. Because we only lost 1% of our population, we did not have to make very many changes, but we do thank Mr. Foote, who had to give up some of his ward, and so we will cross over into 55 and gain some of Ward 1, but that will be our only change. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Foote?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a point that the poster on the back corner there is the outline as proposed in the Plan 6 of the ordinance. So if anybody got any specific questions about the boundaries of this proposed ordinance, it's back there on the map for anybody who wants to look at it.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion, colleagues? Any questions or concerns?
This is on the ordinance.
Councilman Harley?
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President. This is on the ordinance itself, what we have before us today.
Okay.
My only comment is this, Ward 5 will be inheriting a lot of closeness. If this vote goes through, we'll be in fact inheriting a lot of the same issues. And I state that we need to make sure these areas have the fullest support and service by City Hall as possible. A lot of these, we have homicides, we have grown-up properties, we have a lot of these issues that lead to weaker neighborhoods. In our attempt, and we will gladly embrace, although I can't support this, the people there, we'll gladly embrace them in our attempt to expand eastwardly. We find again that there's a boundary there that we can't cross. And even though our school, state can go through.
Councilman Banks, can you mute for us, please? Let the record reflect that we now have Councilman Banks, Councilwoman Virgil Lindsay, and Councilwoman Lee virtual, please. And 3 on the dais.
Yes, and as I was saying, we have a ward that has suffered in a lot of aspects, and we rely heavily on city services to help us to make our neighborhoods stronger. And that's what we're dealing with, and we would gladly embrace and claim to Ward 5. However, we seek to expand our border to the east, and there's a line there, there's a boundary that we cannot cross, that we dare not cross, a political boundary that we will never, in the next 10 years, we won't have a seat at the table. And for whatever reason, Frederick Douglass said it best, power concedes nothing without a demand. But for whatever reason, we won't be able to get there. And I just want everyone to realize the significance of this Ward 5. We will continue to press our boundaries. We'll continue to represent the history and the heritage that we inherited from our ancestors, and that is fighting for equality, fighting for rights, fighting for everything that's good about our people. And I just wanted to take that moment to say this, the fight will continue. The struggle will continue. The boundaries will always be challenged, especially when it comes to our people. And I thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. Any more comments, colleagues? Councilman Banks, you just joined in. Do you have any comments or questions about the introduction of this ordinance?
Are we adopting, or is this, what is this adoption?
It's just the introduction. The vote to adopt failed. Well, the vote to suspend the rules failed.
Question to legal. Are we sure that you had to have a unanimous vote for suspending of rules? I thought that was only for emergency items.
Drew Martin, City Attorney.
Drew Martin.
Mr. Williamson pulled the ordinance, the specific ordinance related to the adoption of ordinances requires a unanimous vote to suspend the rules.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The only thing I would say was just, we are running against the timeline, and whatever petty differences that, they are, especially when it comes to, assets, when it comes to, the things that can be done to make someone's ward look better and say that I have this in my ward. At the end of the day, we're talking about people. And it doesn't matter, rich, white, black, yellow, Republican, Democrat, they're people. And the law is one voice, one vote, or one person, one vote. And, we really are against the time clock. We got to get the engineering done. Zachary has to go out and personally verify it.
Councilman Banks, since you weren't on in the meeting earlier, the ordinance requires 6 days' notice in the absence of a suspension of the rules. So this meeting will, a vote on adoption of the ordinance needs to wait for 6 days.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President,
Councilwoman Lindsay?
yes, thank you. Since it's 6 days, the only thing we need to do is just put it on the agenda for Tuesday,
Correct.
regular meeting. So we'll, it's not that much of a delay. So thank you very much. And I'm sorry I'm not with everybody. Thank you, Mr. Griselle, for running the meeting on my behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Nothing else? Meeting adjourned.